Alright, so back with another Beaplays video, but it's not going to be like my other videos. In this video, I specifically want to address allegations of Beaplays being used as a scapegoat in the Dress to Impress community for all of the backlash that has occurred since the Lady Gaga event. Now, I want to be very clear that I'm not addressing the very serious allegations that have come out against Beaplays in this video. That's not what this is about. This video is solely about messages that were leaked between Beaplays and their editor, basically alleging the Dress to Impress team of having used Beaplays as a scapegoat to avoid accountability in this situation while the game was being cancelled. Now, I'm not defending Beaplays, I don't think they're completely innocent, but I do believe some of the things that are being said here where, because Beaplays is already in hot water, it's just easier to blame them than to blame somebody else, so might as well just use them as the scapegoat, right? Which is what, kind of like a pattern that I recognize, but again, this is just my opinion. So the main message that made me think this in the first place was a message that was shared in Beaplay's editor's kind of expose document, which the legality of leaking these messages I'm not going to get into because I feel like some of these just didn't need to be shared. But this message in particular I thought was very interesting, and I'm just going to read the whole message to you guys right off the bat and then we'll discuss it. So the message was sent on August 27th of this year, and it writes, "Sadly right now, people are twisting things up too. Half of what is being spread around didn't even happen. I was always really kind to people and Dress to Impress, but I wasn't the one who was in charge. All of my job was just me doing as I was told. Because Dress to Impress is scared, they've pushed for me to take the entire blame so they can try to shift it away from them even though that's not how it worked. I was never in charge." For example, the statement "everyone hates you for writing" I didn't even write by myself. Other members of staff wrote it too, and several people approved it and told me to post it. Yet I'm the only one being attacked for it because I am the scapegoat. As I said, I'm working with law enforcement to ensure these things are properly clarified and that I handled this the right way. I'm not saying I'm completely innocent and that I've never made any mistakes, such as making a dumb joke I should have never made, but I never had a relationship with the people they're claiming I did, and when I worked with Dress to Impress, I would always try to do the right thing for our staff. Them saying I told them that we don't care about feedback channels, for example, isn't true. I was told we didn't want to make one. I was just the messenger, yet I'm being blamed for it all. Now, this message really kind of caught me off guard because I haven't seen anybody really talk about it, and I do believe what Beaplays is saying to a degree here, right? Important to note, as it relates to the very serious allegations, they do confirm in this message that, hey, not everything is true. But that in turn gives us the idea or the concept that, okay, some things that are being said are true then. So what's true and what's fake? That's what I'm looking to find out, hopefully in the near future. But I think what's important to recognize is that they're not saying that they're innocent, which I think we've all established, right? They're not completely innocent. But it kind of gives us some context into what's going on in like the back end. And I find it, in my opinion, hard to believe that the very first apology that went out wasn't written by one person, because it seemed very personal. It had a lot of slang in it. It just didn't seem like it was like a corporate worded message at all. It just seemed like someone quickly typed it out. They're upset, they posted it, boom, bang, done, right? And I find it very, very hard to believe that that was written by multiple people and multiple people approved that because of just how horrendous it was. But you never know, right? Like, I don't know. The second message, though, I could definitely like believe that multiple people wrote it just because the way that it was written kind of more professionally. There was certain language used that is just kind of very corporate that, you would anticipate would be used, but there was still some, like, to a level of gaslighting. So you can tell that it was written by somebody, but maybe people kind of went in and tweaked things or edited things. Again, I can't confirm or deny that what Beaplays is saying is true. Like, just take it with a grain of salt. But I think it's important to recognize that throughout this whole situation, because Beaplays has had accusations raised against her, I feel like a lot of people have taken this as an opportunity to kind of just blame them for everything else. Like, let's just villainize this person even more because they allegedly did something super terrible. It's not going to be hard for people to believe that they also did this stuff, right? Which I think isn't very fair. I'm not defending Beaplays and saying that, oh, they're such a victim. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, though, is that it's not fair for a game this big to kind of not really address or talk about stuff that revolves in this situation. And, their long-standing issue with hiring people who are just, in my opinion, seem to be not good people. There's been lots of accusations that have come out alongside the Beaplays accusations of moderators being inappropriate and of past community members and stuff like that, and just stuff being very disorganized and not optimal for a game of this size. And there's a whole controversy a year ago with the owner and stuff like that. Like, there's just been a lot of stuff. And to be fair, when you have a big game and you have so many people working for you, it's inevitable. You're gonna have people that make bad mistakes, bad choices, that do bad things, right? But I think the difference between that is being aware of the issue and not handling it, as well as hiring people who have had previous accusations against them and just not taking the time to do a proper background check and to look into the people that you're hiring for your game. I feel like it's just such more of a deep-rooted issue than it just being Beaplay's fault, and I think it's unfair for people to use Beaplay's vulnerability at the moment because everybody's upset with them because of the allegations that have come out, to then just blame them for everything else. Because at the end of the day, Beaplay's didn't make the event, they didn't organize the entire event, they didn't code the event, they didn't make all the promotional material for the event, they weren't managing the event to my understanding, right? And so I just don't feel that it's fair to continuously blame one person just because it's easy. I think a game of this size, like, if you make a mistake, that's okay. It's like, that happens. People make mistakes when they do an event. Like, the event's not always going to be perfect, and that's fair. And, you know, stuff happens. And I think to a degree, you know, they've recognized that the event didn't really go as planned and that they're sorry that they disappointed people. But then I think continuing to allow people to spread the narrative that that message was solely written by Beaplays when allegedly it wasn't, I don't think is fair. I think that's honestly just a very immature thing to do, because as a game, you have to take accountability when you mess up. It is normal to mess up. There's lots of games on Roblox that have messed up, but don't just blame one person and then fire them and just sweep it under the table and not talk about it. Like, I feel like there has to be some sort of thing that needs to be addressed with the situation. Potentially, maybe they're waiting to find out more about what's happening with a potential investigation or with Beaplay's lawyer. I don't know. But I just think it's very bizarre that they just kind of haven't, at least to my knowledge, spoken about it or really addressed it. They just kind of put out a message saying, hey guys, community manager is fired, some mods are fired. Yeah, that's it. Like, that's not really addressing it. I don't know. And you don't have to go over something 1,500 times for it to be, you know, addressed. But for the sake of transparency, if you want your player base to trust you, you have to be open and honest about stuff that's happened. And as a parent, if I saw all this stuff coming out and a game's not making a statement about how they're going to avoid it in the future, I wouldn't want my kid playing it, because at the end of the day, this is a kid's dress-up game. Sure, there's lots of adults that play it, but if you have so many allegations coming out about different people who play the game, it's a constant issue, and the game isn't saying, okay, we recognize this is an issue, this is how we're going to fix it, then why would I let my kid play that game? Like, that seems like a dumb choice to make as a parent, right? And so, you know, I just think there needs to be some accountability from the game itself as opposed to just shifting blame, especially if what Beaplays is saying is true. If it's not true and they wrote the whole apology themselves, then okay, don't apologize for that. But I think there needs to be a game plan of how are you going to properly screen people going forward, moderators, community staff, like how are you going to make sure this doesn't happen again? Because you're not responsible necessarily for what people do while they're in the role and they're not like working actively, right? Like if they have the role as a moderator and they're like in their real life being mean to people, you're not to blame for that. Obviously you have to take action when you find out about it, but you're not to blame for them doing that. But if you hire somebody and you know, oh, like a year ago they were accused of doing this to a kid, like, what are you doing? Like, this is a kid's game. Come on now. Like, it just doesn't make sense to put people in a position of power when you know that they've had accusations against them. It's just not good. Anyways, I just thought it was important to highlight this, and also to highlight that I feel like some people are taking this as an opportunity to be transphobic. I understand if you don't like trans people, you know, like, that's your opinion. You're entitled to your opinion. You're entitled to not like certain people. You're entitled to not like certain groups. Do I think it's morally correct? Maybe not. I know people have religious reasons, cultural reasons, personal reasons maybe for not liking certain people from certain groups, but that doesn't give you the excuse to mistreat somebody or to blame them or to excessively villainize them because you already have a vendetta against them because they're transgender, right? Hold somebody accountable for the stuff they did, for the stuff that they are proven to be guilty of, right? Don't just like get upset with them and be like, oh, well, this is why I don't like trans people because this person did this. Like, what are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense. Or to be like, I always hated Beaplays and this is why, blah, 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 blah. Like, people, regardless of what their sexual orientation is or what groups they're part of, will make bad decisions. Is everybody going to make the decision to allegedly speak to a minor and be inappropriate? No. But does that mean that every single person that's part of that community is now instantly guilty of doing the same thing? No. So don't group everybody in from that community into being part of this one identity that is apparently a terrible person in your opinion, you know? formulate your opinion based on individual people, not based on their group identity or who they identify as. Like, that's just not fair. And it's not fair to villainize a group of people who are already subject to a lot of social critique and criticism, because like people have it hard enough, you know? Like, you don't got to make it harder for people. You don't have to group everybody into the same you know, idea of who they are just because of how they identify. Like, that's not fair. So anyways, that's all I really had to say. I just kind of wanted to bring light to the allegations of scapegoating, and I hope that Dresden Press will kind of create maybe a better statement where they address, hey guys, you know, obviously stuff happened, but this is how we're going to avoid it in the future. Because I feel like the last statement they gave out was kind of just like an attempt to sweep stuff under the rug, because I understand at the end of the day, your game's at risk of losing a lot of money if these allegations get out of hand. And so obviously you want to just kind of like pretend it's not there and get rid of it and just fire the people and move on. But something further needs to be done. If there's multiple people who have been let go because of bad things that they've done, there's obviously an issue with your hiring process. There's an issue with the way you're selecting people, because people that have these sorts of allegations should not be in a position of power, right? It just shouldn't happen. It's not safe for kids, especially when you know a large portion of your player base is kids. Something has to be done to regulate this better and to ensure that the people that you're hiring are going to be good influences and are not going to take advantage of their power. But anyways, that's all I had to say in this video. If you guys have other things you want me to talk about, let me know in the comment section. Because obviously my whole channel is not just going to be talking about the Beaplays situation, but when I think something is happening that isn't morally correct or that is unfair, even if it is somebody who has been accused of such serious stuff, I do feel the need to talk about it, because at the end of the day, you know, this whole situation is not just one person's fault. There's multiple layers that played into this, and I just don't agree with kicking somebody when they're already down, dogpiling somebody, continuing to cancel somebody, and villainize them over things that aren't 100% their fault. The serious allegations, sure, whatever. But the whole game update and the game event, blaming one person for something that obviously took a lot of effort and was multiple people's responsibility to put out this apology, I don't think that's right. But anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.